Chapter 26. Husband and Wife. Personally, I am one of those who pay no tribute of grateful admiration to those who have oppressed mankind with the dubious blessings of the penny post. Just as no household which is adorned with the presence of pen-propelling young ladies is ever without its due quantity of morning letters, so no breakfast table is quite complete if the post-bag has been drawn blank. The urn may hiss, eggs may be boiled to the precise degree of solidity, frizzling strips of home-cured may smile upon you from a dish of silver, or golden marmalade may strive to allure you with its richness of hue. But if the morning letters are not present, the picture is incomplete. They are the crowning glory of the British breakfast table. For a good many days my correspondence had happily left me in the lurch, but as I sank into my seat I saw upon my plate a single letter, and took it up mechanically. As a rule, the handwriting of the envelope betrayed the writer, but this possessed the additional attraction of unfamiliar penmanship. It had been addressed to Rowan Road, and Bob had forwarded it. The communication was upon paper of pale straw colour, headed Metropolitan Police, T Division, Brentford, and signed J. Rowling, Sub-Divisional Inspector. There were only 2 or 3 lines asking whether I could make it convenient to appoint an hour which he could call upon me, as he wished to consult upon me a matter of extreme importance. The matter referred to was, of course, the tragedy at Whitton. Truth to tell, I was sick at heart of all this ever-increasing maze of circumstances, and placed the letter in my pocket with a resolve to allow the affair to rest until I returned to London on the conclusion of my visit. The receipt of it, however, had served one purpose admirably. It had given me an opportunity to recover my surprise at discovering Beryl sitting there opposite me, bright and vivacious as though nothing unusual had occurred. The letter which I had seen her writing in the study on the previous evening had been, I now felt convinced, to make an appointment which she had kept. But with whom? I glanced at my hostess, who was busily arranging with those near her at the table for a driving party to visit the Haywards at Doddington Park, and wondered whether she could be aware of the strange midnight visitant. I contrived to have a brief chat with her after breakfast was finished, but she appeared in entire ignorance of what had transpired during the night. I lit a cigarette and, as usual, strolled around for a morning visit to the kennels with Sir Henry. On returning, I saw my well-beloved seated beneath one of the great trees near the house, reading a novel. The morning was hot, but in the shade it was delightful. As I crossed the grass to her, she raised her head, and then, smiling gladly, exclaimed, "Why, I thought you'd gone to Doddington with the others, Dr. Colkirk." "No," I answered, taking a chair near her. "I'm really very lazy in this hot weather." How charming she looked in her fresh cotton gown and large flop hat of leghorn straw trimmed with poppies. "And I prefer quiet and an interesting book to driving in this sun. I wonder they didn't start about 3 and come home in the sunset, but Nora's always so wilful." Though as merry as was her wont, I detected a tired look in her eyes. Where had she been during the long night, and with whom? The silence was only disturbed by the hum of the insects about us and the songs of the birds above. The morning was a perfect one. "I found it very oppressive last night," I said, carefully approaching the subject upon which I wanted to talk to her. "I couldn't sleep, so I came out here into the park." "Into the park?" she echoed quickly, and I saw by her look that she was apprehensive. "Yes, it was a beautiful night, cool, refreshing, starlit." "You were alone?" I hesitated. Then, looking her straight in the face, answered, "No, I was not. I had yourself as company." The colour in an instant left her cheeks. "Me?" she gasped. "Yes," I replied in a low, earnest voice. "You were also in the park last night." She was silent. "I did not see you," she faltered. Then, as though recovering her self-possession, she added with some hauteur, "And even if I choose to walk here after everyone has gone to rest, I really don't think that you have any right to question my actions." "Forgive me," I said quickly. "I do not question you in the least. I have no right to do so. You are certainly free to do as you please, save where you neglect your own interests, or place yourself in peril, as you did last night." "In peril of what?" she demanded defiantly. "In peril of falling victim to the vengeance of an enemy." "I don't understand you." "Then I will speak more frankly, Miss Wind, in the hope that you will be equally frank with me," I said, my eyes fixed upon her. "You were last night, or rather at an early hour this morning, with a person whom you have met on a previous occasion." "I admit that. It is indeed useless to deny it," she answered. "And yet on the last occasion that you met you nearly lost your life. Was it wise?" "Nearly lost my life?" she echoed. "I do not follow you." "The woman in black who called at Gloucester Square on that evening not so many days ago. You surely remember her. Was it not after her departure that her unaccountable evil influence remained?" "Certainly, but what of her?" "You were with her last night." "With her?" she gasped, surprised. "I certainly was not." "Do you deny having seen her?" I demanded. "Most assuredly," she responded promptly. "You certainly did not see us together." "And your companion was not a woman?" "No, it was a man." "Who?" "I have already told you that I object to anyone interfering in my private affairs." "A lover?" I said, with some asperity, perhaps. "You are entirely at liberty to think what you please. I only deny that I have set eyes upon my mysterious visitor since that evening in Gloucester Square." "Well, she was in the house last night," I answered decisively. "She was in your room." "In my room?" gasped my well-beloved in alarm. "Impossible!" "I watched her enter there," I replied, and then continuing gave her an exact account of all that transpired, how she had first entered my room, and how the strange evil of her presence had so strangely affected me afterwards. "It's absolutely astounding," she declared. "I was utterly ignorant of it all. Are you absolutely certain that it was the same woman?" "The description given of her by yourself and your cousin's servant is exact. She came here with some distinctly sinister purpose, that is quite evident." "But she must have entered by the servants' quarters if she passed through the hall as you have described. She seemed to have been in search of us both." "No doubt," I answered. "And if, as you say, you were absent from the room at the time, it is evident that she went straight out into the park in search of you. In that case, she would have left the room before I tried the door, and would be ignorant of the fact that I had detected her presence in the house." "But what could she want with us?" she asked, in a voice which told me that this unexpected revelation had unnerved her. "That I cannot tell," I responded. "She came here with an evil purpose, and fortunately we were both absent from our rooms." She knit her brows in thought. Possibly she was recalling some event during her midnight walk. "And you say that you actually experienced in your own room, on returning there, an exactly similar sensation to that which we all felt at Gloucester Square?" "Exactly." "Do you know," she faltered, "I felt the same sensation in my own room this morning, very faintly, but still the same feeling of being chilled. What is your private opinion about it, Doctor?" "My opinion is that there is a conspiracy afoot against both of us," I responded very earnestly. "For some unaccountable reason we are marked down as victims. Why, I cannot tell. You will forgive me for speaking plainly, but I believe that you alone hold the key to this mystery, that you alone know the motive of this vengeance, if vengeance it be, and if you were to tell me frankly of the past, we might unite to vanquish our enemies." "What do you mean by past?" she inquired with just a touch of indignation. "There are several questions I have put to you which you have refused to answer," I replied. "The light which you could throw upon 2 or 3 points now in obscurity might lead me to a knowledge of the whole truth." She sighed as though the burden of her thoughts oppressed her. "I've told you all I can," she answered. No, you have told me all you dare. Is that not a more truthful way of putting it?" She nodded, but made no response. "You have feared to tell me of the one fact concerning yourself which has, in my belief, the greatest bearing upon your perilous situation." "What is that?" "The fact that you are married." Her face blanched to the lips, and her hands trembled, and for a moment my words held her dumb. "Who told you that?" she gasped in a low voice. I knew it long ago, I replied. Nora has betrayed my secret, she observed in a hard voice. No, I declared. Your cousin has told me nothing. I've known the fact for months past. For months past? How? You are not frank with me, I replied. Therefore I may be at liberty to preserve what secrets I think best. I do not deny it, she faltered. Then in a voice trembling with emotion she added, Dr. Colkirk, if you knew all that I have suffered, you would quite understand my fear lest anyone should discover my secret. I often wonder how it is I have not taken my own life long ago. No, I said in deep sympathy, taking her hand. Bear up against these troubles. Let me assist you as your friend. But you cannot, she declared despairingly, tears welling in her eyes. You can only assist me by keeping my secret. Will you promise me to do that? Most certainly, I replied. But I want to do more. I want to penetrate the veil of mystery which seems to surround your marriage. You can never do that, she interrupted quickly. I have tried and tried, but have failed. Why? Because, strange as though it may seem, I am entirely unaware of the identity of my husband. I have never seen him. I was silent. Should I reveal to her the truth? She could not believe me if I did. What proof could I show her? And you do not know his name? No, I do not even know his name, she answered. All I know is that by this marriage I am debarred forever from all love and happiness. I have nothing to live for, nothing. Each day increases the mystery, and each day brings me to only bitterness and despair. Oh, how a woman may suffer and still live. Have you no means at all by which to discover the identity of your unknown husband? I inquired. None whatever, she answered. I know that I am married. Beyond that, nothing. And who else is in possession of this secret? I inquired. Nora. No one else? No one, to my knowledge. But you are, I understand, engaged to marry Cyril Chetwood, I said, anxious to get the truth. How can you marry him if you are really a wife? That's just it, she cried. I am the most miserable girl in all the world. Everything is so hazy, so enshrouded in mystery. I am married, and yet I have no husband. But is it not perhaps best that under the circumstances you should be apart? I said. He may be old or ugly or a man you could never love. I dread to think of it, she said hoarsely. Sometimes I wonder what he is really like, who he really is. And at the same time you love Cyril Chetwood? I said, the words almost choking me. I saw that she loved that young ape, and my heart sank within me. We are very good friends, she answered. But you love him. Why not admit it? I said. And if I do, it is useless, all useless, she murmured. Yes, I observed. It is useless. You are already married. No, she cried. No, she cried, holding up her hand as though to stay my words. Do not let us talk of it. I cannot bear to think. The truth hangs like a shadow over my life. Does Chetwood know? I inquired. Is he aware that you can never be his? He knows nothing. He loves me and believes that one day we shall marry. Indeed, now that he has succeeded to the estate, he sees no reason why our marriage should be delayed, and is pressing me for an answer. Her breast heaved and fell quickly beneath her starched blouse. I saw how agitated she was, and how with difficulty she was restraining her tears. What answer can you give him? Oh, she cried. What answer indeed? Was there ever a woman before who knew not her husband, or who suffered as I am suffering? Well, your case is absolutely unique, I said. Have you not endeavored to solve the problem? Surely, from the official record of marriage, it is possible to obtain your husband's name. You have a wedding ring, I suppose. I said, my thoughts running back to that fateful moment when I had placed the golden bond of matrimony upon her hand. Yes, she answered, and placing her hand within her bodice, drew forth the ring suspended by a narrow blue ribbon. It is here." I took it in my hand with a feeling of curiosity. How strange it was! That was the very ring which I had placed upon her finger when in desperation I had sold myself to the tempter. "Have you no idea whatever of the circumstances of your marriage? Do you know nothing?" "Absolutely nothing, save that I am actually married." "And the identity of the man who placed this ring upon your hand is an enigma?" "Yes. I found it upon my finger. That is all I am aware of. I changed my name, yet I am ignorant of what my new name really is." A sound of wheels approaching up the drive greeted our ears, but I still held the ring in the hollow of my hand. "Shall I tell you the true name of your husband?" I said earnestly, looking straight into those deep, clear eyes. "What?" she cried, starting in quick surprise. "You know it? Surely that is impossible." "Yes," I said in a low voice. "I know it." At that instant the rally car, which had evidently been to Corsham Station, dashed past us towards the house, interrupting our conversation and causing both of us to raise our heads. At the side of Barton the coachman there sat a stranger, who, as he passed, turned his head aside to glance at us. Our eyes met. In an instant I recognized him. It was none other than the man for whom I had been in active search for all these weeks, the tempter. Chapter 27. The Tempter. The small-eyed man to whom I had sold myself that fateful day caught sight of Beryl, and raising his grey felt hat in recognition, pulled up and swung himself down from the trap. I glanced at my love and saw that her face was blanched to the lips. The meeting was to her evidently a most unexpected one. Beneath the seat I saw a well-worn kit-bag and a gun-case, which showed that he had come on a visit. Smartly dressed in light grey, he wore a buttonhole of pink carnations, which gave him an air of gaiety and irresponsibility scarcely in keeping with his age.
"Ah, my dear Miss Wind,"
he cried, advancing to her with outstretched hand.
"I'm so delighted to find you here. It's a long time since we met."
"Yes," she answered in a voice which trembled with suppressed excitement. "But I had no idea you were coming down," she added. "Nora told me nothing."
"I, too, had no idea of visiting you until the day before yesterday," he said. "I've been abroad for nearly a year and only arrived back in town 3 days ago when I found Sir Henry's invitation, a month old, lying at my club. I wired to ask if I might still accept it, and here I am."
He stood with his legs apart, his hat set rather jauntily upon his head, looking an entirely different person to that crabbed, strange old fellow who sat beyond the bar of sunlight, with the banknotes in his claw-like fingers. Every detail of that scene was as vivid in my memory as though it had occurred but yesterday. Again I looked into his face. Yes, I had no doubt whatever that it was he. I am first to bid you welcome at Atworth," Beryl said. "Nora has gone over with some of the people to visit the Haywards at Doddington. There's a flower show there."
"I quite remember," he exclaimed. "I went over there last year. Lady Durham drove us, do you recollect?"
"Of course," she laughed. "And how it rained, too. My new frock was quite spoilt, and I had a bad cold for a fortnight afterwards. I'm not likely to easily forget that drive home."
"Because of the spoiled frock?" He laughed, raising his small eyes to me.
"Yes, I suppose that's what has impressed itself upon my memory. We women, you know, are never forgetful where clothes are concerned."
"And who's here? Anybody I know?" he inquired.
"Oh, there are the Pierres and the Tiermans, as usual, and of course Lady Durham," she answered. Then a moment later she added, "This is Dr. Colkirk, Mr. Ashwick. Let me introduce you, if you have not already met before."
"We have not had that pleasure," said the tempter, turning to me and raising his hat.
He remained perfectly calm, betraying no sign whatever of recognition. In this I saw an intention on his part to deny all knowledge of our previous acquaintance. His keen eyes glanced at me quickly, and as though in that moment he gauged exactly my strength of character, he expressed his pleasure at our meeting, and hoped that we should all spend as pleasant a time as he had done last year.
Here one has not an hour for leisure, he laughed. Sir Henry and his wife are really a wonderful pair as host and hostess. You've already found them so, I've no doubt.
Yes, I responded mechanically, his marvelous self-control staggering me. The house party is a very jolly one.
I've been abroad, he went on, but I'm pleased to be at home again. There's nothing like an English country house in the summer. It is an ideal existence.
How long have you been away? I inquired, anxious to ascertain his tactics.
Nearly a year. After leaving here last summer, I spent a week in London and then left for Vienna. Afterwards I went south, spending greater part of the winter in Cairo, and thence to Bombay, and returned for the late spring in Florence, and afterwards wandered about France until 3 days ago I found myself again back in England.
And you did not return once during the whole year? I asked with affected carelessness. His small eyes darted quickly to mine as though in suspicion.
No, he responded promptly. It is almost a year today since I was last in England.
Then, noticing Barton waiting with the trap, he ordered him to take the luggage to the house, while all three of us walked up the drive together. A sudden change had passed over Beryl. She knew this man Ashwick, her attitude towards him was that of fear. The looks they had exchanged at first meeting were sufficient to convince me that there was some hidden secret between them. Nora cannot be aware of your arrival, Beryl said as we walked together up the sunny drive to the house. Otherwise she would have either told me, or she certainly would have remained at home to receive you.
Why should she? He laughed lightly. Surely we are old enough friends to put aside all ceremony. I'm a rolling stone, you know, and I hate putting people out.
Yes, she said. You are a rolling stone and no mistake. I don't think anyone travels further afield than you do. You do seem always to be traveling.
I've only spent 6 months in England these last 8 years, he responded. To me, England is only bearable in August or September. A little shooting, and I'm off again.
You only come back because you can't get decent sport on the continent? I said, for want of other observation to make.
Exactly, he answered. La chasse, as the French call it, is never a success across the Channel. Some rich Frenchman started a fox hunt down in Montigny and in the Seine and Marne not long ago, and part of the paraphernalia was an ambulance wagon flying the Red Cross flag. A fact. I went to the first meet myself.
The French are no sportsmen, I said.
The same everywhere, all over the continent. Sport is chic, therefore the get-up of sportsmen must be outrageous and striking. No foreigner enjoys it. He shoots and hunts just because it's the correct thing to do. Here in England one kills game for the love of the thing. To the Frenchman in patent leather, sport is only a bore.
He had all this irresponsible air of the true cosmopolitan, yet his assertion that he had been absent from England a year was an unmitigated lie. Knowing this, I was doubtful of all his chatter. On entering the hall, Beryl, as mistress of the house in her cousin's absence, rang for the servants and told them to take Mr. Ashwick's baggage to the same room he had occupied last year, sending Barton round to the kennels to find Sir Henry and inform him of the arrival of his guest. In the meantime, Ashwick had tossed his hat aside and seated himself cross-legged in one of the low cane chairs, making himself thoroughly at home.
"Well," he said, stretching himself, "it is really very pleasant, Miss Wynne, to be here once again. I have so many pleasant recollections of last year, when I spent 3 weeks with you. Oh, what a merry time we had!"
"I hope you'll remain here longer this time," she said in a dry, unnatural voice.
"Oh, you're awfully kind, he answered. "I always enjoy myself under Sir Henry's roof, both here and in town."
The baronet entered, and the greeting between the two men was a cordial one.
"You'll forgive me, Ashwick, won't you?"
Sir Henry said a moment later.
"I quite forgot to tell my wife, and she's gone off to the flower show at Doddington. Must support the local things, you know."
Of course, responded the other. "I quite understand, and I know I'm welcome."
"That you certainly are,"
Sir Henry said, turning and ordering the man to bring whiskey and sodas.
"Let's see, the last letter I had from you was from Alexandria back in the spring. Where have you been since then?"
"Oh, knocking about here and there as usual. I can't stay long in one place, you know. It's a bad complaint I have."
"Well, I'm glad to see you, very glad," the baronet declared heartily. "I hope you'll stay some time. Have you brought your gun?"
"Of course," the other laughed. "I shouldn't think of coming to Atworth without it."
While they were chatting thus, I looked at him, recalling every feature. Yes, it was the same face, scarcely, perhaps, the same sinister countenance as it had appeared to me on that well-remembered day, but nevertheless the face was of the tempter. I lounged back in my chair, close to that of my well-beloved, filled with wonderment. That the newcomer recognized me was certain, for I had been introduced by name, and that he had been unaware of my presence as guest there was equally certain. Yet he had, on encountering us together, preserved a self-control little short of marvellous. I glanced at Beryl. She was sitting listening to the conversation of the two men, and regarding Ashwick covertly from beneath her lashes. I knew by her manner, although she had outwardly affected pleasure at his arrival, she in her heart regarded him as an enemy. He, on his part, however, was perfectly confident, and sat sipping his drink and laughing merrily with his host. What, I wondered, was passing within Beryl's mind? She knew this man as Ashwick, while I knew him as her own father, Windham Wind. The latter were evidently a name and position both assumed, and after all, as he sat there with an easy, refined air of a gentleman, I could scarcely believe him to be an adventurer. Surely Sir Henry knew him well, or they would not be on such terms of intimate friendship. But now I had discovered him. I meant at all hazards to probe the truth. Beryl, who had spoken but little after Sir Henry's entrance, rose at last, announcing her intention of going out beneath the trees again. Her words conveyed an invitation to accompany her. Therefore I strolled out at her side, anxious to learn from her what I could regarding the man to whom she had introduced me. How curiously events occur in our lives. Many of the ordinary circumstances of everyday existence which we pass by unnoticed seem to be governed by some laws of which we have absolutely no knowledge whatever. Reader, in your own life there has occurred some strange combinations of circumstances quite unaccountable, yet by them the whole course of your existence has been altered. You may have noticed them, or you may not. You may call it fate, or you may be a follower of that shadowy religion called luck, yet it remains the same. The unexpected always happens. Who indeed would have expected that my wife herself would have introduced me to the man who had so cleverly baited the trap into which I had fallen? And yet it is always so. There is a mysterious all-ruling spirit of perversity ever at work in that complicated series of events which go to make up what we term life. "You were telling me that you know my husband," she said quickly as we crossed the grass together. "The conversation was interrupted by that man's arrival." Such reference to the newcomer showed me that she was not well disposed towards him. I said, "I believe that we've met somewhere before. I know his face." "Possibly, but why Sir Henry should have invited him here again I can't imagine." "Was his company so disagreeable?" I asked.
"Disagreeable?" she echoed. "He is detestable."
"Why?"
"Oh, for many reasons," she responded ambiguously. "I have never liked him."
"He says that he is always abroad," I remarked, "but I'm confident that we have met somewhere in England."
"He did not apparently recognize you when I introduced you."
"No, he didn't wish to. The circumstances of our meeting were not such as to leave behind any pleasant recollections."
"But you told me that you knew the identity of my husband," she said after a pause, as we strolled together in the shadow of the great oaks. "Are you really serious?"
"No, I was not serious," I answered quickly, for the unexpected arrival of this man who called himself Ashwick, and whose name appeared in the London Directory as occupier of the house in Queensgate Gardens, caused me to hesitate to tell her the truth. The manner in which they had met made it quite plain that some secret understanding existed between them. It seemed possible that this man had actually occupied the house before the present owner, Mrs. Stentiford.
"Then why did you say such a thing?" she asked in a tone of reproach. My position is no matter for joking.
Certainly not, I hastened to declare. Believe me, Miss Wind, that you have all my sympathy. You are unfortunately unique as one who is married, and yet without knowledge either of her husband or his name.
Yes,
she sighed, a dark shadow of despair crossing her handsome face.
There's a shadow of evil ever upon me, just as puzzling and mysterious as the chill touch of that unseen influence which at intervals strikes both of us.
And the presence of this man adds to your uneasiness. Is that not so? She nodded, but no word escaped her. I noticed when you met and he descended from the trap that he was not your friend.
What caused you to suspect that? She inquired quickly.
The man's face betrayed his feeling towards you. He is your enemy.
Yes,
she answered slowly, as though carefully weighing each word.
He is my enemy, my bitterest enemy.
Why?
Because I have a firm suspicion that he has discovered the secret of my marriage, that he alone knows who my unknown husband really is.
And turning her wonderful eyes to mine, her troubled breast slowly rose and fell. When, oh when, should I succeed in solving the maddening problem and be free to make confession of the truth?